Hey Falcon fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Atlanta Falcons Today. Today, we're going to go ahead and jump into the top 5 internal free agents the Falcons must go ahead and re-sign this offseason, as well as a full look at all the cap space, all the money that they have, and if they can actually re-sign any of the players we're going to go ahead and talk about. Before we start, though, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel as we approach free agency, which is really it's a couple of months away, and we're going to blink, it'll be 2022. We're going to blink, it's going to be February and March. We're going to blink, it's going to be the draft. We'll cover it all here on the channel, so go down below and subscribe. Let's start with a quick little just overall, broad picture here at the Falcons free agency in 2022. They have a ton of free agents, over 20 internal unrestricted free agents. We won't talk about all of them today. We'll talk about some of them on today's video, but the main point is they have a ton of players to re-sign if they want to go ahead and do that. Now, when they end this offseason, they have a decent amount of money. They have some money, as we will see, but it's not enough to sign, even half of their free agent class, as we will talk about again coming up in just a couple of minutes. The good news is the salary cap is going to rise in the National Football League, going up to like $208 million compared to $182 million, which gives, of course, the Falcons more money to actually work with. But again, it shows that Atlanta, as we'll see, does not have that much money to re-sign some of these key free agents. A little example we'll start with is the top of the free agent class in terms of the teams that have the most money to spend next offseason, and then we'll compare it to where Atlanta is at. So here's your top 5. Dolphins have $75.46 million next year. Chargers have $75 million. Boy, the Chargers are going to be insane if they can just re-sign a bunch of great players and add a bunch of great players. Jaguars 71, Bengals 61, and Washington has $60 million in free cap space as of today. Again, this can all change, but this is basically what they're going to have come free agency time in 2022. Now, let's go down to the mid-20s. Here, look where Atlanta is. Philadelphia 15.4, Tennessee 14.6, and there's Atlanta, the 24th most cap space at $14.11 million right in front of the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills, which essentially shows they do not have that much money to go ahead and spend in free agency to bring in new players or to re-sign some of the guys we will talk about in today's video. Now, what are their biggest needs? We talked about this a lot. You guys should probably obviously be able to say these without me having to show them on the screen. We'll do it anyway. Pass rusher is a massive need. Offensive line has suddenly become a big-time need for the Falcons. Cornerback opposite of A.J. Terrell is a need. Wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, are you coming back? Are you not? Either way, I think another receiver is definitely a necessity. And finally, running back. As we've said, running back is obviously a massive need in Atlanta. And so those are my biggest 5 in no particular order. You could throw in some other spots here and there, maybe a linebacker, maybe a safety, but those are the top 5 guys or top 5 positions Atlanta must go ahead and re-sign. All right, let's jump into my top 5 players the Falcons must go ahead and re-sign. But first, name a player you want the Falcons to re-sign. Pin comment, ad break down below. We're trying to get as many replies as we can. Of all the people I'm going to name here, give me yours down below in the comment section right now that you want the Falcons to go ahead and re-sign. All right, let's start with number 5. Again, no particular order here. We'll start with 5, though. How about Dante Fowler? Now, Dante Fowler has not had the career in Atlanta that we expected him to. A double-digit sack guy at his previous place with the LA Rams. He comes over to Atlanta, banged up last year, underproduces massively last year. And then this year, he hasn't been terrible. He's been healthy, a little bit off and on the football field, missed a couple of games a couple of weeks ago, but he hasn't been that bad. My thought process in re-signing Dante Fowler that you could probably get him for pretty darn cheap. Because the numbers have come down so much for Fowler, you're not going to see any sort of team give him some sort of, $7, $8, $9 million a year contract. So maybe you can keep him and keep him as a rotational pass rusher to play alongside a future draft pick that will eventually become, hopefully, the superstar pass rusher the Falcons have desperately needed. Again, all these players that I'm going to name, there's an argument for keeping them, argument against keeping them, but for the right price, I think Fowler is, to me, a no-brainer. I would love to go ahead and bring back Dante Fowler because he has shown some improvement. It would just have to be at the right price, meaning a pretty cheap overall price for the young still, but I guess aging a little bit there, pass rusher currently with the Falcons. Okay, before we get ahead and get into number 2, quick shout out to our sponsor and friends for today's video in BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/BetFalcons. Promo code Falcons125 to get a 125% deposit bonus on your brand new betting account that you open up with BetUS. You want to jump in on betting for or against the Falcons, or betting, for the Hawks? You want to bet for the Braves whenever they come back? You bet other NFL games. Do with our friends at BetUS. I use them every single week. You guys should too. Chatsports.com/BetFalcons. That promo code is Falcons125. All right, next on my list is a tight end. Not the one you would think of in Hayden Hurst. It is Lee Smith. Now, I thought about Hayden Hurst, and I said, you know what? You really don't need to give Hayden Hurst any more money to come back and do nothing. He's done virtually nothing this year. Caught a touchdown last week. That was nice. Good to see against Carolina, but overall, off and on the football field, not been the year we thought that he would have. And so, just for some depth, I think Lee Smith is someone who can count on in the future. He's a decent blocking tight end and might be able to blossom into a little bit more. Obviously, we know the number 1 tight end on this team is Kyle Pitts, and will continue to be Kyle Pitts, and so there's no need to extend any sort of crazy money to re-sign any of their current tight ends, but Lee Smith, I think, is someone you could bring back in, knows the system, knows Arthur Smith's play calling, and would be cheap as well, and I think would be a good addition to keep in a Falcons uniform this offseason. All right, number 3 on my list, how about Matt Gono? Yes, the offensive lineman, tackle guard, whatever you want to call him, who you've hardly seen this year. Yes, Gono went down in training camp with an injury, and yes, that means he's going to be a lot cheaper this offseason, but I think depth is something that's very important on the Falcons' offensive line. There's no guarantee they're going to spend their first-round draft pick on an offensive lineman. There's no guarantee they're going to spend their second-round draft pick on an offensive lineman, and so that means you might be stuck with the current O-line you see on your screen right now, which to me is a little bit iffy. Gono adds some depth. He'll be healthy next offseason. Again, you get him for cheap. You see a trend here. Lee Smith is cheap. Gono is cheap. I think maybe Dante Fowler Jr. is going to be cheap. These guys all make sense to me, and I think Gono would have been a very good offensive lineman for the Falcons had he not been so banged up in training camp and towards the start of the year. Depth is important. Some battles are important because, again, not like they can go out and take the number 1 offensive lineman in the draft because I think they need a pass rusher, and so they're going to pass on those top O linemen come April. What do you guys think is the biggest Falcons offseason need? Like, overall for the Falcons. Am I wrong to say it's pass rusher and maybe you say it's offensive line, or is it vice versa? Let me know what you guys think the biggest offseason need for the Falcons is this year down below right now in the comments section. And while you're down there, hit that red subscribe button. Again, trying to go ahead and get to 5K subs here on the channel as we approach the playoffs. Technically, Atlanta, as we still film this here on December 14th, is still alive and very much in play for a playoff spot had they beat the Niners on Sunday. Hopefully they will. Go down and subscribe. We'll cover it all here on the channel. All right, final 2, and to me the most important 2. We'll see if they can afford both of them. First, kicker. How about that? Younghoe Koo, who's been fantastic in Atlanta. Truly, I mean, just getting this guy basically off the street. He has been one of the better kickers in the National Football League. The career stats, the numbers on your screen are fantastic. They're going to re-sign him. It's just a matter of time. He's on like a $900,000 one-year contract right now. Like, he makes nothing to be one of the top kickers in the National Football League. So you bump that up to 1.5 over, a year for 3 years, and boom, you have your kicker of the future, and you reward Younghoe Koo for playing very, very well as he has his entire time in Atlanta. All right, final player. You're waiting for me to say it. Obviously, it's coming. Cordarrelle Patterson. They've got to re-sign Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't care what it takes. Now, let me pause and say I do care what it takes because you can't offer him the sun, the moon, the stars because you have all these other internal free agents and you got to go get some people on the market and you don't have that much money. But if you can find a way to keep Patterson, it's going to help this team out. I mean, huge next year. He's been unbelievable. I mean, his best year in the National Football League in a decade has been in Atlanta, and I think that he'll give the Falcons a little bit of a discount because he has been so successful under Arthur Smith. He's finally been utilized properly, and so why go somewhere else who might not utilize you in the way that you want to be utilized? Now, the argument against this is that some other team with a lot of money, like the Chargers or the Dolphins, are going to back up the Brinks truck and offer him $12 million a year, and the Falcons can't match that. So you might not get the chance to re-sign him, but I think the Falcons absolutely must make a run at bringing him back because he's been the best offensive player on this team besides Matt Ryan literally the entire year. I mean, literally, hats off. He's been unbelievable. Incredible. Drop a like down below if you guys think the Falcons must re-sign Cordarrelle Patterson. You probably do. I mean, come on. Give this video a thumbs up. He's been true to Atlanta. He seems to love the city. He's been making great plays. Give this video a thumbs up if the Falcons must re-sign Patterson. All right, those are my top 5. Let's go to my honorable mentions. I'll give you 4 of them here. I looked at Hayden Hurst again, maybe for the right price you bring him back, but I just don't see them doing that. Isaiah Oliver isn't a bad idea for the right price, but I think they let him go and draft somebody in the 2022 draft. Same with Steven Means, and I think Tajay Sharp could be an option, but I'd rather get somebody with a little bit more upside than Tajay Sharp at wide receiver, maybe an earlier round draft pick, that 2, 3, or the 4th round in next year's draft. All right, one final look here through the free agents to re-sign. Obviously, Dante Fowler at the right price. Lee Smith, just because we need some depth at tight end. Matt Gono, because I think they're not going to spend a lot of offseason capital on the offensive line, so bring him back on a cheap price, get him healthy, and then I hope he can be a productive starter. Younghoe Koo has got to be brought back. I think that he's almost the one guarantee on this roster who will be, or this list who will be. And finally, if you can afford him, Cordarrelle Patterson would be, oh man, huge to bring back. They've got to try to go ahead and bring back CP84. He's been absolutely fantastic this year, and to me is the biggest key free agent the Falcons have internally. All right, ultimately, every time we have for today on our Atlanta Falcons free agent breakdown, a full breakdown of their cap space and who's available and who they can re-sign. If you guys enjoyed this video, plenty more like this to come as the offseason approaches. Go down below and subscribe. For Atlanta Falcons today, I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.